All right, everybody, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And today we're heading down to South Africa. We're going to try to unpack their recent experience with solar power.
It's certainly been a roller coaster ride for them.
Yeah,
Uh,
so, imagine this for a second. Okay, your country's in the middle of this energy crisis. You've got blackouts happening like every day. And, just finding a reliable way to keep your lights on feels like you won the lottery. Well, that's exactly what's been happening in South Africa.
It's been a real struggle for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And we're going to take a look at the really fascinating rise, but then also this kind of like surprising recent dip in rooftop solar that's happening down there in South Africa. And we're going to use a couple of really interesting articles here from My Broadband and Business Tech.
Yeah, those sources had some great insights into what's going on.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot in this deep dive. So our mission is to really try to figure out what are the forces that are driving this, like I said, this solar roller coaster, what's making it go up, what's making it go down, and then more importantly, what does it actually mean for everyday people in South Africa?
Right, because at the end of the day, they're the ones living with these decisions.
Exactly. Okay, so to get us started, um, let's kind of like rewind the clock a little bit. Okay, let's
Yeah.
go back to like 2022, 2023.
Yes.
And, load shedding was like the word of the day every day, it felt like.
Yeah, it was a rough time.
It was a rough time, and it was all driven by these struggles that Eskom was having.
Right, Eskom being the big state-owned power utility down there.
Exactly. But here's the interesting thing, right? So in the middle of all this energy chaos, something really interesting started happening. There was this massive surge in people deciding to install solar panels.
When you put it that way, it's kind of like their own little energy revolution brewing.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And if you look at the numbers, it's really kind of staggering. So between September of 2022 and September 2023, the installed capacity of rooftop solar more than doubled in South Africa.
Wow.
So we're talking serious growth in a very short amount of time. And if you look at the data that Eskom's put out, they recorded this jump from 2,333 megawatts up to 4,883 megawatts.
That's an incredible amount of new solar power coming online.
It's a ton of solar panels,
That's
right, all over the country. So, I mean, it's clear that something significant was happening there.
It really does make you wonder what was driving that huge shift. I mean, obviously having an unreliable power grid and rising electricity costs played a role, but it seems like there's more to the story.
Yeah, it's not always as simple as it seems, is it?
It rarely is, and this is where it gets really interesting. So the South African Photovoltaic Industry Association, they go by SAPVI for short.
Okay.
They did some fascinating research on this whole phenomenon, and their findings actually reveal a much more nuanced story.
Oh, okay. So tell me more about this research. What did SAPIA find out?
So SVIA, they found that a lot of those people who were early adopters of solar, they weren't just driven by saving money.
Yeah.
It actually went deeper than that.
Okay.
They really valued this idea of having energy independence.
Ah, interesting.
Like having control over their own energy supply, especially when they were dealing with these constant load shedding interruptions.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because when you're constantly worried about the lights going out,
Yeah,
I mean, having that peace of mind, that's got to be priceless.
exactly.
But wait a minute, didn't we say something about this whole solar boom kind of hitting a bit of a speed bump lately?
Yeah, it's true. We did see this amazing growth in 2022, 2023, but 2024, that's a whole different story.
What happened?
Demand for residential solar installations has actually gone down this year.
Really? Wow, that is a big turnaround. Did everybody just suddenly decide that they liked sitting in the dark? What's going on?
Not quite.
Okay.
The biggest reason for this drop is that load shedding has actually been suspended since March of 2024.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So remember how SVIA, they connected that increase in solar adoptions to those dark load shedding days?
Uh-huh.
Especially during winter when everybody's using more power.
Right.
Well, this year winter came and went and there were no rolling blackouts.
Interesting.
So it seems like without that immediate threat, a lot of people, they decided to kind of hold off on those solar panel plans.
It was like they got a little bit of a breather and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, we can maybe put this off for a little bit.
Exactly. And this little pause was probably influenced by another big change, too.
Okay. What's that?
The South African government, they actually scrapped that solar tax rebate incentive.
Oh, yeah, for homeowners. Right.
Exactly.
But businesses still get to keep their tax breaks.
It's a bit of a point of contention.
Yeah, I bet.
Because before, homeowners could get 25% back on their taxes for putting in new solar panels, up to R15,000.
Right.
but not anymore.
So it's gone.
It's gone.
Hmm.
But businesses, they can still deduct 50% of their solar costs just in that first year.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, that's a huge incentive for businesses to go solar.
Exactly, making it a much easier decision for them.
Yeah, so it seems like it's a bit of a mixed bag right now for solar in South Africa.
It really is.
Because on the one hand, the immediate pressure of load shedding that's eased up a little bit, so
Hmm.
people are holding back on solar.
Right.
But on the other hand, you've got the tax rebate gone for homeowners. And that just adds like a whole other layer of like, should I or shouldn't I to the whole decision.
It's definitely a complex situation, and that actually brings us to another really important factor that's affecting the solar landscape in South Africa,
Okay.
and that's security.
Security. Okay,
Yeah.
so now that's not the first thing that comes to mind when I think about, solar panels. What's the connection there?
Yeah, it's a shame, but it kind of goes hand in hand with this whole thing. So unfortunately, with more and more solar panels popping up, we've also seen this rise in, well, theft.
Really?
Yeah, those panels, they've got valuable stuff in them, right? Silver, aluminum, copper.
Yeah, I never really thought about it like that, but I guess, yeah, if you break them down.
It's a tempting target for thieves, unfortunately.
So is this like a widespread thing, or is it just like a couple of isolated cases here and there?
It's definitely something to be concerned about. So the South African Police Service, they go by SAPS.
Okay.
They reported over 34,000 home burglaries, get this, just in 1/4 of this year.
That's crazy.
And a lot of times solar panels were on that list of stolen goods.
Wow. So are the police doing anything to try and stop this?
They're definitely aware of it and trying to figure out ways to tackle it, but it's tricky.
I bet.
The thieves are getting bolder too, targeting places that are kind of out of the way, hitting at night.
Yeah, makes it harder to get caught.
Yeah.
So for people in South Africa who are thinking about going solar, what can they do to protect themselves? I mean, it sounds like good security is like non-negotiable now.
For sure, for sure. Think about surveillance cameras, motion sensor lights,
Okay.
and then even like tamper-resistant hardware for the panels themselves.
Oh, right. So they can't just like easily dismantle them.
Exactly. And you can even get these secure enclosures for inverters and batteries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then, of course, insurance is a big one.
Right.
Make sure you got a policy that actually covers your solar equipment from theft.
Yeah, because that could be a costly thing to replace if it gets stolen.
Absolutely.
So you're really paying for peace of mind, I guess, at that point.
In a way, yeah. But it's about protecting that investment you're making.
Right.
Not just financially either, but that whole energy independence thing we were talking about.
It's like a whole other layer to the decision-making process. So
Yeah.
it seems like going solar in South Africa, it's not as simple as just looking at the numbers anymore.
No, not at all. It's about way more than just kilowatt hours and how much electricity costs these days.
It's interesting to see how all these different factors are coming into play. It's a real roller coaster ride down there in South Africa.
It is. It's a complex situation with a lot of moving parts.
But hey, that's what we do here on the Deep Dive, right up.
That's right. We try to untangle it all.
We dig into the details and try to make sense of it all for our listeners. And I got to say, today's deep dive, I mean, we've uncovered some really interesting stuff. So for those of you listening, whether you're in South Africa or anywhere else in the world facing similar energy challenges, remember that knowledge is power. The more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to make those important decisions about your energy future. So until next time, stay curious, everyone.